It was a Saturday. I'm driving home from Sityodtong. My younger brother, Max, was still fighting with me at the time. He wasn't there. He was with his wife and her family doing something that day. My older brother called me from San Francisco. He was like, hey, I can't get a hold of Dad. When was the last time you talked to him? Oh, I don't know, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. Why? Max can't get a hold of him. Amy, my stepmom, can't get a hold of him. You need to go over there and see what's going on. So, in hindsight, I'm grateful it was me and not one of my little sisters or one of my little brothers, because I'm 35 and my youngest brother is 15. We got 21 years in between us, or he'll be 16.
Yeah.
So there's a wide range, you know what I mean, of kids there. So had it been any other one, who knows, like that, I think that could have been a bit more devastating for them. But I had to go find my dad. I walked up the stairs, saw him sitting on the couch, was yelling at him. I'm like, what are you doing, you asshole? You don't know how to answer your phone. And I went to go grab his arm. I could still tell you how cold his arm was when I grabbed him.
You won the UFC contract on the Dana White Contender Series. You're an entrepreneur. You're also fighting that Cage Titans 50th event, man. This is awesome. Thank you so much for taking time in your day. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure, man. I love taking time to get on these shows. Like I said, they're a blast for me.
I love to go back with my guests. Like, where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
So I grew up on the South Shore, Massachusetts, South Shore, Boston, in Abington. My dad's from Scituate. My mom's from Weymouth. And my mom and dad had 3 boys. They got divorced, and then my dad had 7 kids with my stepmom. So I grew up in a very large family.
Wow.
I would call that that's like the American dream right there, right? That's how it happens. Everybody gets married, remarried, divorced, remarried, kids, and then you've got 2 big happy families, right? So when we were little, it was always up. Mary's here with the 3 boys. Let's see how long they last. And it was always, we were like little hellions, we'd always just cause the ruckus, beat the shit out of each other, always fighting, always beating each other up. It just boys being boys, I guess.
Yeah.
Played sports my whole life. And then I got into wrestling in high school, really fell in love with the sport. Unfortunately, I went to a school that didn't have wrestling, played rugby through college. And towards the end of college, I started getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai and whatnot, and really just like fell in love with it. And I wasn't competing, it was an idea to compete at that point, but it was just like, it reminded me very much of wrestling, and it gave me an opportunity to continue that. Like, a lifelong athlete all through, my academic career, played 3 sports all through, mostly through high school, and then played rugby through college. And I was just like, not ready to give up, having some sort of hobby. And, I went to school out in Denver, Colorado. So I've moved around a little bit. I went to a private high school here in Boston. I went to BC High, which is a Jesuit school, which is what got me out to Regis University in Denver, another Jesuit school. And while I was out there in Colorado, there was a local kid, up and coming rising talent, Brandon Thatch, who is also a UFC veteran. And one of my buddies was like, hey, if you really want to get into Muay Thai, we got to go learn from him. Like, he's the real deal. He's like the Rocky Mountain bad boy, 5-time amateur champ, running, coming up in the game. So I got, lucky enough to go train with Brandon at this gym called Inner Strength Fitness. And it was one of the hot gyms in the area at the time. This is like back in 2008, 2009, I think, maybe 2010, 2011. But, I got to see what a fight team looked like, what kind of stuff was going into it. They had a lot of pro fighters fighting out of the gym. And I, like I said, man, I just fell in love with it. And, one thing led to another. I did my, I did a couple stints at some clubs working out there, and then ended up moving home to be a productive member of society, as my mom liked to say back then. Peter, you need to come home and pay your bills. Stop fucking around. Stop being a party animal. You got to get this under control.
Yeah.
So they convinced me to move home. And when I moved home, I found out that my cousin was actually, he'd had a couple amateur fights, and he was driving by my house every day to get to the gym. I said, Zach, if you're driving right by my house, pick my ass up. I will get you better. I will help you get better. You didn't wrestle. I wrestled all through high school. Like, I can help you do these things. And one thing led to another, and I started fighting. And man, I just fell in love with it even more so than the regiment of training and being in it and helping other people get ready. I lost my first amateur fight, and I was hooked. Looked at my coach, and I was like, Coach, can you get me another fight tonight? And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's like high school wrestling. If you lose your first match, you get a second one, maybe a third one, maybe a fourth one. You go clean up on the things you did wrong. It's like, Peter, you're not going to fight for another 2 or 3 months. You need to go rest your injuries, like figure out what hurts. Like, you're full of adrenaline right now, but I really appreciate that attitude, and I love it. So, one thing led to another. Amateur career, pro career, quit my job, started taking it a bit more seriously. Not that I never took it seriously, but just opened up that more time to have a better schedule for training.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the TV guide of what got me to fighting. And then, that's what we're fast forward. We're here right now, and we're at 2015 in my timeline right now.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's killer, man. I love the story. And I mean, here you are, you get to go on Dana White's Contender Series. You end up winning that. You get the contract. As you're walking to the octagon that first time, like, what's going through your mind in that experience there?
So the first time I walked to the octagon was it was the same venue, same arena as my Contender Series fight, because I fought both my fights with the UFC were in the middle of COVID.
Oh, right.
And
yes.
We fought at the Apex Center, no fans. You could have a conversation clear as day with your opponent's corner, with Dana White at the time in the midst of the fight, because like you could hear a mouse fart in that room while you were fighting. That's how quiet it was. Right. So, walking to the cage, man, it was an incredible experience for me. Like, I finally felt like this is where I belong. This is what I've been working so hard for. It was just a lot of validation for, up until now, about a decade of trying to get here. And, I walked out to the Dead South, This Little Light of Mine. It's the same song you're thinking of. It's just a nice bluegrass, like country, like they're kind of like, I don't want to say like alternative country bluegrass, but like you listen to their music, you think it's bluegrass, you listen to the lyrics, and you're like, these are some bad motherfuckers. This stuff is awesome. It's almost like outlaw country, I guess would be the best way to put it. But they have this, a cover or a rendition of This Little Light of Mine. I'm Gonna Let It Shine. I walked out to that. I just met with, how would I want to describe this lady? She's an important woman in my life. Her name's, Mary Kim Garrity. She runs the Zen Den, but she's also a Reiki master and to some extent a channel or a medium. And we had just finished up a guided meditation the week before, and my dad came and visited us during the session. And, one of the reoccurring themes was, from the darkness comes the light. A lot of the conversations were focused around the light and, bringing myself to be a full, full circle with the fighting, with being a good person, with everything. So, I walked out of that session. I looked up, This Little Light of Mine. I found the Dead South, and it hit me, the music was great. And I was like, this is what I'm walking out to. So for me, walking to the octagon, to get back to that question, was like, I had my dad on my shoulders. I had my brother on my shoulders. I had my stepdad with me. I've lost a lot of people close to me over the last few years in some pretty harrowing ways. And, that night was about, showing everybody that I can put my mind what I put it to, or I can accomplish what I put my mind to.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I rhythm stepped, and Zalal spitting heel kicked me in the face within the first 30 seconds of the fight. It didn't go my way. But up until that point, I mean, I was, like living my dream. I was like on cloud nine. Was I a little, not present enough? I don't know. Maybe I was soaking it in a little bit too much. I started a little slow. Who knows? But, that's how it happened, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for the experience and to have had it. But obviously, both of my fights in the UFC, I think me and that guy fight 10 times. Unfortunately, they got the 1 or 2 times they beat me that night. And
right.
That breaks my heart, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, and now, I mean, you've had the majority of your fights have been with Cage Titans, and now you're fighting Spencer Higa, I think is how you say his last name, but on their 50th event, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. What's been your experience working with Cage Titans, and how you feeling about being on their 50th event, man? That's pretty rad.
Yeah, I mean, Cage Titans has been an awesome opportunity for me, and it's like a blessing. Not a blessing and a curse. I don't know why I was going to say that, but it's been a blessing. Yeah. I have had all, except for maybe 3 of my fights between my amateur and pro career with them, and even my pro fight outside of the UFC, the Contender Series that was with CES was like low key, really a Cage Titans card, and CES was put in a position where they weren't able to fulfill their media roles, so they worked out a deal with Cage Titans and took essentially Cage Titans outsourced their card to CES to help them out and help get some of their guys a little bit more national limelight. So it was really, I mean, all of my pro fights outside of my last, the 3 fights up at the next level have been Cage Titans fights. So Mike's an awesome guy. He got into promoting because he was fighting and saw how shitty these people were doing a job. Like you show up and you're looking for, to get paid, and the promoter's saying, no, I can't pay you until I have my next show. So what does that tell you? The promoter's behind a show. So he's committing to Paul, but robbing from Peter, and however, robbing Peter to pay Paul, however you want to look at it. He saw that, he bounced around a little bit. I think he fought 3 or 4 times before he was like, this is trash. I need to fix this.
Yeah.
And he got into promoting MMA, and, his thing was just, do the fighters right, do everything right. And over the years, we had Manny Bermudez go up to the UFC. We had, there've been a host, Kyle Bachniak, there've been a host of guys that have fought, Mike Rodriguez, that have fought for the UFC. I mean, have fought within Cage Titans and then got to the UFC. But I would say Manny Bermudez was a Cage Titan that went to the UFC. I would say Joe Giannetti went to Tough, went to the UFC, myself included. But all along, Mike was there acting as a manager or as a coach to kind of like, he talks about us as like his kids growing up. So he wanted to be there for those experiences. So he was able to go and, every chance he had to be behind the scenes, he was taking notes about how they were running their show. Okay, we got the blue shirts at the UFC. They do this. We've got guys that do this. We've got guys that do this. So when he came back to Cage Titans, he was implementing these roles and duties to other people to allow himself to, have more of a facilitator role than doing everything himself,
Yeah.
And he's just a really smart guy. And like all of the media that comes out of Cage Titans now, you'd think that there was a lot of money behind it. He does it all of himself. There's a lot of, promo that comes out of Cage Titans. You would think there's a lot of money behind it. He does it all himself. More so now he outsources it, but he took every chance he could to learn how to run the industry right. And he improved with every single show. And he went from losing money, breaking even, to being able to take one show and then put prospective shows in the future together, so he's just a smart guy, runs everything right, takes care of his fighters, takes care of the guys that he flies in, if, and he's not afraid to fly guys in, you know what I mean? Even guys that might beat the hometown guys. I fought TJ Brown, one of my last Cage Titans fights, and we had a fucking 3-round barn burner before he got me in a head and arm at the end of the fight. You know what I mean? And that was a fight for me. Like that was a fight for me to win, but we brought in tough competition, to see how I would fare up against someone, right there with me to get to the next level. So, and he takes care of TJ. He still sees TJ and they have a great relationship, still talks to him. But I could go on. Cage Titans, they do almost everything right. They bring doctors in if you don't have insurance to help get your medicals done. Nice. They'll line things up for you. They'll pay for things on the front end and take it out of your pay on the back. I don't know if I should be advertising that, but he has done that for me, and I know he's done that for some other people.
Yeah.
And it also helps that I sell a ton of tickets.
Sure.
You gotta hold your weight. So I knew that if he was flying someone in for me, I had to sell X amount of tickets to at least cover that dude's flights. Otherwise, I'm taking and I'm just taking, and it's a one-sided relationship. So, we're in my basement gym right now. I want to turn it around, but it's kind of messy. But like to get an idea, like my brother used to fight with me, that's his banner. I mean, we've been doing everything crazy the whole time.
Yeah.
And we're on all of their banners as well. So
come on.
Like we just, we love Cage Titans. Cage Titans loves us, and we sell a ton of tickets, and we pack the house.
Yeah. One of the things that when I was doing some research on you, like that you're a big advocate of is mental health. And I think people have this, they deal with mental health, but they don't want to always reveal that. Why are you such an advocate on mental health? And what are those struggles that fighters deal with that they, should be talked about?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big advocate for mental health because I think it's one of those topics that everybody does. Like people, it's like the pink elephant in the room. Nobody wants to address it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've dealt with depression. I have direct members of my family that have dealt with depression. My younger brother overdosed accidentally. I mean, he took the drugs knowingly to have a good time, but it was fentanyl. It wasn't what he thought it was. So it's an accidental overdose on fentanyl. My dad battled with opiates the later part of his life. He ended up having a heart attack, but still, he went from being on the top of the world to living in a one-bedroom studio apartment above a garage. And so it's been really close to me, and I just think that there are ways out of it. There are healthy ways out of it. You don't necessarily need to medicate yourself out of it. And I wanted to really advocate for that way of treatment for these things,
Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by Tranquil Turtle Massage. Tracy over there, the founder, she's a small town girl from Montana, loves God, loves her family, loves her friends, loves working out, fishing, and camping. She has a passion for helping those in need and enjoys being creative with woodworking, crocheting, healthy baking, pottery, and cooking. Look, she began her massage journey back in 2010 where she graduated from massage school up in Anchorage, Alaska. She specializes in her signature massages, the Hanu Infusion and the Hanu Ashiatsu, as well as the gua sha and manual lymphatic drainage. If you're looking for a massage specialist and someone who can get you feeling good, go see Tracy down at Tranquil Turtle Massage. And while you're there, check out CDA Microblading, offering Coeur d'Alene's best tattoo brows, plasma fibroblast, tightening, and PMU services right there in the heart of downtown Coeur d'Alene. Make sure you book your appointment at pnwmobilemassage.com.
Quick timeline, 2017, I get a phone call on July 4th. Nope, I lied. July 4th, I was with the Cage Titans crew with, everybody that fought for Cage Titans. We went and we did a 4th of July parade down in Plymouth, Mass. Like that's where Plymouth Rock is, the Pilgrims, that whole nine.
Yeah.
And, competing schools, guys that don't normally get around each other, that normally wouldn't like each other. We all kind of just said, fuck it. We're going to have a good day with Cage Titans. We're going to do this. And then we can go back to hating each other tomorrow. So I do that on the 4th of July. I wake up on the 5th. Boom. I get a phone call. Hey, we found Christian dead in his apartment this morning. Not sure what had happened, but it's looking like an overdose. And my brother was living down in Florida, working a program while working in a program as a therapist or a counselor. Clearly didn't have everything under control. But that's what he was doing down there to get it under control. And he was with his girlfriend the night before, 4th of July, borrowed my cousin's car to drive her home. And then that was the last they saw of him. So he either dropped her off and went and scored a bag of some bad heroin or bad pills or pressed fentanyl or whatever. And my cousin and their group of friends didn't find him until the next morning. So it was, past like doing anything, you know what I mean? Like there was nothing, couldn't hope for an ambulance and maybe he'd come back. Like they found him and it was done. So that like tore my family apart. Like I said, one of 11, my mom remarried, 3 stepsisters on that side, 4 stepsisters on that side, 1 of 15. But when my little brother passed away, it rocked my whole family. Stepmom devastated, brothers and sisters devastated. Some of them still dealing with, the depression and the sad days like it was yesterday. So that sucked, right? And then that's July, August, September. I'm the one who finds my dad on the 3rd in his apartment, stiff as a board, ice cold, died from a heart attack at some point within the last 10 hours, So I'm running through it quick because we could spend all time, the whole, talking about this, but it was a Saturday. I'm driving home from Sityodtong. My younger brother, Max, was still fighting with me at the time. He wasn't there. He was with his wife and her family doing something that day. My older brother called me from San Francisco. He was like, hey, I can't get a hold of Dad. When was the last time you talked to him? Oh, I don't know, maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. Why? Max can't get a hold of him. Amy, my stepmom, can't get a hold of him. You need to go over there and see what's going on. So, in hindsight, I'm grateful it was me and not one of my little sisters or one of my little brothers, because I'm 35 and my youngest brother is 15. We got 21 years in between us, or he'll be 16. Yeah. So there's a wide range, you know what I mean, of kids there. So if had it been any other one, who knows, like that, I think that could have been a bit more devastating for them. But I had to go find my dad. I walked up the stairs, saw him sitting on the couch, was yelling at him. I'm like, what are you doing, you asshole? You don't know how to answer your phone. And I went to go grab his arm. I could still tell you how cold his arm was when I grabbed him. Like, it was fucked up. And, it's a lot to take on. I had to figure out what to do, who to call, who do you call when you find a dead body? What do you do? I didn't know what to do. Yeah. So I had to call my brother, I called my aunts, call my uncles, call my mom, call my stepmom, call my whole family pretty much. And, had to figure it out. And losing my younger brother 2 months previous to that, in my head, hear me out, I'm like, you can get away with telling yourself for so long that Christian's still alive. He's just down in Miami, he's down in Florida, wherever the hell he was living, down in Tampa, whatever. I can just outsource that. He's, I don't see him. I don't talk to him as regularly as I could have, but then you have the realization that now my dad's passed away too. So now it's 1-2 back to back. And it was a tragedy, for the family, for everybody included. And it put me on a really dark path. Like regularly drinking, I say over medicating. I was smoking a ton of weed. I was drinking like an asshole. But I was still showing up to all of my training. So I would show up for my coaches that Peter's got his shit together. He's training. He's here. I'd leave the gym. I'd probably grab a handful of nips, drive home from Somerville town to the South Shore. So that's about a 40-minute drive, hit the Packy from the highway to my house, grab another handful of nips, crawl into bed, wake up, get to my first training session, rinse, wash, repeat. And that went on for probably, it wasn't like that the day after, but it progressed into that before. I was like, I need to get a hold of my shit, or they're going to be burying me next, or I'm not going to make it home one night. I'm going to be in the woods wrapped around a fucking telephone pole. Like, God forbid, I get caught up hurting, trying to numb these things out. So, it got to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had everybody fooled. But when it came to fight night, I was losing fights that I shouldn't lose, fights that I could have won. TJ Brown, I was, when I fought TJ, I fought him like maybe November 4th. On October 31st of that year, we were moving into a new house and we put down 2 bottles of fucking tequila. Though probably 7 days before I had to make weight. I was not making healthy decisions. And fight night, I'd sit and fight up in the back room thinking, did I show up? Was I there? Did I give my best? Did I give my all? Like the checklist that I go through that normally builds me to the point where I'm like, nah, I'm fucking Superman. I'm a god. Like, I'm untouchable. I was going through this checklist and I'm like, I'd give you a 7 out of 10 on that one, Pete. I'd give you a 6 out of 10 on that one. Like, you didn't even think twice about that, and these are the things going through my head when I'm getting ready to go fight someone. And, it's just a very unhealthy cycle of numbing out the things you don't want to pay attention to. So, with some therapy, some positive goal setting, getting back into the gym, getting sober, getting off the weed for a little bit, getting off the alcohol for a little bit, therapy, while I got off these other things, I started microdosing with psilocybin mushrooms, which was a total game changer. I mean, I can't advocate for that enough. Do your homework. Don't just jump into it and think, I can take a mushroom this size and it's not as big as the mushroom that big, so it's got to be a microdose. Right. It's do your research. But if you know what you're doing, or as long as you feel like you know what you're doing, or you have someone that you can talk to about it that can help guide you through it, I think it's a very beneficial thing. And so that, coupled with the therapy, and I didn't just call my insurance company and say, hey, I need to go talk to somebody. I did my research. Again, I wanted to find someone that resonated with me. I wanted to find someone that I knew would say, hey, you know what? It sounds like you're really stressed out. Maybe you should do some breath work and some yoga a couple times a week, not wake up and eat this and take this pill and take that pill and then take this to sleep and then take that. You know what I mean? I didn't.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a therapist and a psychologist and whatnot, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to go to someone that was going to say, here's this medicine and it'll make you feel better.
Right.
I wanted, and right about this time is when Tyson Fury started making his comeback. Okay. And he had that awesome podcast on the Joe Rogan Experience. And I listened to that podcast and I swear it was like, all right, if this motherfucker can do it, I can fucking do it. And, setting little goals, easy goals, setting little goals. So the goals compile and it just turns into more positive reinforcement. Getting to the gym every day, not drinking, not smoking, not, giving my all, doing my best, being here, reflecting on the things that I've done. And it just helped me get back to a place of where I felt really good. And, that paralleled me getting back up to the Contender Series with coming off of a few losses, taking out another top prospect in New England, and then getting the bid to go to the Contender Series, which was just about the same time I was wrapping up all my work with my therapist. And I just, I saw my depression manifesting in my fight career. So we went after the depression outside of my fight career, and then everything started coming back to where it should be.
Come on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My condolences for your losses, man. I can't imagine, going through that. One of the things I want to talk about, though, you're building this cool combat cardio program at Hardkore Fitness. What's this program about, man? And how can people get into this thing?
Yeah. So it's a really, really cool program that I'm starting. So what we do, it's pretty much a boxing, Muay Thai, heavy bag fitness class. But I make it really easy for people to the point where it's a 3-minute round. I break that 3-minute round into 3 individual minutes. First minute, we do one combination. So it's 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest, 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest, 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest, and then you get a minute off. So you're doing 3 rounds, kind of like high intensity interval or Tabata training with prescribed combinations. You get your 15 seconds of rest, and then you get a minute off. So I have all of these. I've got the 8 rounds written up on a big old whiteboard for everybody. I go over them. I call them out. I'm yelling at people. I'm performing. You know what I mean? It's like public speaking, whatever you want to call it. But I'm leading the class and having a good time doing it. And we do 8 rounds on the bag, 8 3-minute rounds on the bag, and then we do 2 5-minute rounds of some body weight exercises that really just smoke you to get you feeling like, man, I just whooped my own ass before 9 a.m. Yeah. And then I get everybody on their way to work for the day. And, I've been getting a ton of positive feedback about it. Everybody loves it. I just need some brave people to come in and sign up and get involved with it.
Come on. That's awesome. Where can they sign up for? Just DM you, or where's the best place for them to get signed up
DM me if you guys are curious. DM me. If my link tree is working, it should be on my Instagram profile with a link to sign up for classes. Cool. I post about them every night on my story with a click-through link that you can get to the signups. But the facility is located in Rockland, right off of the old exit 18, which we just renumbered all of our exits based off of like the mile markers. So I have no idea. The Rockland exit off Route 3 South, right there by Home Depot. We're right behind in a business park. Super convenient, right on, real close to the highway. Come check us out.
Right on, man. I love to finish my show with the fun questions there. I'm a big music guy. Like, who's a favorite band for you? What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Set and setting, really, I have a playlist on Spotify called Marathon Monday. And that's if I'm training people, sparring, whatever, Monday night at Sit Yatong is Marathon Monday, because it's 10 to 15 3-minute rounds of sparring and then clinch work at the end. So I built the playlist to go with that. Nice. So it's all, hip hop, punk rock, hardcore, the whole 9. If I'm just chilling, I'll probably listen to music more like a Sublime, Long Beach Dub All Stars. I've been listening to Sat Song a lot lately. I think he's an Idaho or Montana guy.
Yeah.
But they've got some really cool vibes. But if it again, man, set and setting. I listen to East Forest when I'm on my psychedelic journeys. I listen to, you know, Jack Johnson, G Love, Hyrie, everybody. You know, if it's good music, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
I just don't like Southern pop country music.
Okay,
Outside
right.
of that, you know,
Yeah.
and like the really pop hip hop.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. Yeah, I know it's more about the producers than about the guys singing it these days, but it's like, I'd still go back to my old stuff from like the 90s and the early 2000s for hip hop. But
Yeah.
you get the whole underground scene. You've got the guys like Chucky D Gaff, the whole SRH movement, everybody out in SoCal. And then, you know, it's just, there's so much good music everywhere.
Yep.
You know, you got guys like Slain out here. You got DMS all over the place on the East Coast hardcore scene. Danny Diablo. I mean, all these guys, I listen to everything.
Nice.
Everything.
Nice. I wanted to give you an opportunity too, Pete, to give a shout out to coaches, teammates, sponsors, man, anything like that. Obviously, you got this big fight coming up for Cage Titans, and just wanted to give you an opportunity to just give a shout out to anybody you'd like, man.
Hell yeah, I appreciate that. So I've got, you know, my family companies behind me. The Barrett Restaurant Group has stepped up and sponsored me in a very generous manner. So has my uncle's business, the Barrett's Ale House, separate from the Barrett Restaurant Group. I know it's confusing. Stepped up real big with the platinum package. I have different packages of sponsorships, and he, you know, really stepped up big for me. The restaurant industry is booming again. You know, the last couple of years with COVID has been really tough, and it's been hard for my family to help support me through these things. But now that everything's back up and open, both sides of my family have been helping out a lot. So big shout out to the restaurants there. Top Game Management, Tyson Chartier, he's awesome. Sitya Tong and Lozon's MMA. And then my strength and conditioning coach, Mike Perry, he's just getting over his battle with prostate cancer, just getting his pump taken out, just finished up his chemo. So I always love to shout out someone like that who's doing the real hard work behind the scenes to make sure his fighters are getting what they need.
Yeah. Oh man, Pete, such an honor to have you on my show, man. I'm super pumped to see you back in the cage, dude. You're an absolute world changer, man. I love your story, dude. Thank you for sharing that with me, man. Really appreciate it, man. Keep changing the world, brother. I really appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.
What's going on? Thank you so much for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Hey, I just wanted to do a quick introduction. If you've not seen my show or you don't know the services that I offer, I wanted to drop them to you right now. One, I do voiceover work. So if you're looking for a voiceover person to cover your motivational videos, or maybe it's Kickstarter videos or whatever it is, let me know. I'm more than happy to help you out there. I also work with brands on brand and product videos. So they'll send me their products to do reviews or box openings. Let me know. I'd love to work with you on your product as well and help you get that product out there. I also love to be able to share my story. So if I can make an impact on one person at your next speaking engagement, let me know. I love to talk about my story. I love to talk about how our past does not define our future, and morning routines and being consistent, how to be around those successful people that are just going to lift you up. Let's chat about having me speak at your next event, and let's make it happen. Again, thank you so much for checking out this show. Check out erikallenmedia.com. Really appreciate your time. Have an awesome day.